Please repeat after me. 2020 will be my most prosperous year ever. I'm asking you to work with this affirmation throughout the course of the year as a reminder that the only thing that will prevent 2020 from being your most prosperous year ever is you. But if you're the linchpin, if you get it right, then you can have it the way you want it. Is that right? So I was looking at one of those newsy / lifestyle programs, and they did a segment on New Year's resolutions. And they showed snippets of about a dozen people or so, and they were asking the people that they interviewed if they had a New Year's resolution, and if so, what the resolution was. As the segment was coming to a close and people had shared their resolutions, the segment ended with the reporter, I guess you could call him, suggesting that some people now recoil at the phrase New Year's resolution. They went on to offer that the term New Year's resolution for many people has a negative stigma. And I remember thinking to myself as they were saying that the phrase New Year's resolution was becoming synonymous with failure. I remember thinking to myself, that's just too bad. Because whether you call it a resolution or a goal or a dream or a commitment or an aim or an objective, you and I, each and every one of us, are aspirational by nature. And for there to be the sense, and maybe not us, because we are exceptional people, call it what it is. But for having the sense that you could be around people who think that having what they want is somehow synonymous with failure made me wonder, why isn't this place filled every week? Because if you can get it and I can get it, anybody can get it. And then they went on to unpack what some of the most common resolutions, listen to this. The 10 most common New Year's resolutions were to lose weight. Amen. You don't have to raise your hand. To get organized, to spend less and save more, to enjoy life to the fullest, to stay fit and healthy, to learn something new and exciting, to stop smoking, whatever it is you're smoking, everything ain't over the counter. I just want you to know that I know. To help someone manifest their dream, to fall in love, and to spend more time with family. All of those are worthy aspirations. And if there is this sense that establishing that as a goal or resolution is somehow setting oneself up for failure, then that's just too bad. And so in looking at this same report that the Journal of Clinical Psychology presented, they said that 45% of Americans usually make a New Year's resolutions. And that 75% of people keep it going through the first week. You with me? That means 25% of people don't even make it through the first week. I was talking with one of my good people who is a personal trainer, and she was saying that toward the end of the year, people who own gym memberships prepare themselves for not being able to use the machines that they're used to using and being on the schedule that they're used to being on, because at the top of the new year, there's an infusion of new people signing up for health clubs. But right at about 6 weeks, everything snaps back to normal. And so it's not enough to establish the resolution. It's not enough to get started. The key is to be equipped, say equipped. The key is to be equipped to continue the process through until the resolution becomes your manifestation. Are you with me? And so what I want to help you do over the next few weeks is help you move into the 8%. What's the 8%? The 8% is the percentage of people who actually accomplish the New Year's resolution they set out for. Do I have any people who want to be in the 8%? Are the rest of you just telling me you're not going to set a resolution? So if you're committed to being in the 8%, let me hear you make some noise. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the odds are against most people making the kind of simple changes they need to make in order to move into the 8%. Repeat after me. I am not like most people. The good news is, if you will make the simple changes, you can have what you desire, and it won't be easy, but it is simple. Are you with me? So let's go. In order to change your life, you have to change the things you think. Not only do you have to change the things you think, but you have to change the things you say and do on a daily basis. This simply means developing better habits, someone say better habits, that lead to a better, more fulfilling life. See, consistency and discipline is the bridge that has to be traveled every day in order to move from resolution to manifestation. Are you with me? It's simple, but it's not easy. But if you will do what needs to be done every day, say every day. If you will make a commitment to do what needs to be done every day, you can experience the good desire of your heart. And here is something I just want to share with you right here. Now, it might be a little bit of a secret. If it came to you, it came so that it can be a blessing to you. If it's a desire or an inspiration or aspiration you have, that is God seeking to help you understand that just as you suspected, there is more for you, there is more for you. But you've got to be willing to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when your mind changes, your backside has to follow. Are you with me? So what do we do to ensure that our New Year's resolution becomes the habit and a part of our everyday so that we can create the future right now? First thing I want to encourage you to do is to review your past year. Review your past year. Why? Because your 2019 thinking was the thing that helped produce most of your 2019 experiences. And if you take your 2019 thinking into 2020, let me tell you what will happen. Yeah, you already got it. If you take your 2019 thinking into 2020, 2020 will look just like 2019. So there is an opportunity to learn from the past year. Most of us can't wait to get out of 2019. As Martin said earlier, there were some difficult times for some of us in 2019. There's some things we don't want to touch anymore, don't want to see anymore, don't want to hear anymore, but those experiences have some lessons and some blessings for you. So let me just tell you, when you go back to review the past year, you are only looking for two things. You want to know what those are? Before I tell you, let me tell you what not to look for. Do not go back into review of 2019 looking for somebody to blame. Do not go back into a review of 2019 looking for somebody to judge. Do not go back into your review of 2019 talking about how silly you must have been and how you could have missed it and how you let that happen to you. That is not the move. Do not go back into review of the last year looking for the mud. Because it's easy to get stuck in the mud. I only want you to look for two things. You ready? Put this in your notes. Look for the patterns of things that went well and the pattern for things that did not. Look for the patterns of things that served you and the patterns of things that did not. That's all you're looking for. What are you looking for? Okay, that's pretty much it, I think. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the things that served you and the things that did not. Because here is what I know. There were some things, actually, here is what I know. Most of the things in your 2019 worked really well. You might not realize it, but if you're like most people, nearly 90% of what you experienced in the past year worked for you. The challenge for many people is that they don't realize that. They only focused on what didn't work, and then they don't come up with a plan for how to fix what didn't work. So you're only looking for the patterns of things that served you and the patterns of those things that did not. Are you with me? As you begin to make a commitment to take a look at the patterns that served you and the patterns that did not, do not beat yourself up during this process. Just recognize that the past year is a gift to you. It's a gift. It's like walking down the sidewalk and tripping over a crack, and then walking down that sidewalk the next day and tripping over that same crack, or driving down the street and hitting a pothole and driving down that same street the next day and hitting that same pothole. Either you can learn from the experience or you can keep having the same experience. But those who do not learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. And that's not just in the macro sense, that's in the micro sense. If you don't learn from the thinking that produced your past experiences, you will repeat all of that same stuff over again. A new boo with a new face will show up with the same jacked up attitudes. The new job in the new city will have the same people who worked at the old job in the old city. The new conversations in the new year will be just as taxing and draining as they were in the last year. If you don't decide and make a resolution that if you can't talk to me in a way that feeds me, maybe there's nothing for us to talk about. You've got to pay attention to the patterns. See, our life is just a combination of the patterns that we're playing out. And if you don't pay attention, those things will work on autopilot. You ever drove home from work and never gave thought to how you were going to get there? You just put the car in park, and before you know it, you were pulling into the garage. You never said turn right. You never said put your turn signal on. You just showed up. Because subconsciously, you've got patterns. And what I want you to do is to be able to learn from the patterns that work for you, because if it blessed you and worked for you in 2019, by all means, don't recreate the wheel if the wheel will roll. Use what works and abandon what doesn't. Are you with me? So in order to get the most out of your New Year's resolution, be willing to review the past year. Second thing I want to encourage you to do is separate the facts from the fiction. Now I want to pause here for a minute, because I recognize that I'm talking to truth students. And for truth students, just this concept of fact can be a stumbling block. I want to help you remove that stumbling block. I want you to always hold the truth. And if you're not clear on what I mean when I say hold the truth, I want you to be one of those people who rushes out of here and gets into a JCI class, because that's where they teach you what the truth is. But here is what I mean when I say the truth. I mean the absolute, that which accords with God as divine principle, that which is, has been, and forevermore will be, that which is eternally truth. I'm talking about God as reality. When I say hold the truth, I mean even as you're working your plan, still hold on and walk by faith and not by sight. Are you with me? I'm saying even as you review the past year, know that God is not intimidated by the stuff that you went through in 2019. I'm saying even as you find yourself pushing through perhaps self-doubt or guilt or whatever it is you might find yourself working through, know that God loves you and God is not judging you, because God understands how God made you. That's the truth. You with me? So we want to be able to hold the truth. But we also have to be able to face the facts. One of the challenge for many true students is that we do what's known as spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypassing, that's when we use the absolute to explain away what we've demonstrated. Let me say it to you this way. That's when we make excuses for the stuff that's showing up in our life. Are you with me? So what I want to encourage you to do is to just face the facts and separate the facts from the fiction. See, the stuff that's showing up in your life is pointing back to something. Let me just talk to me, because I feel like y'all getting uncomfortable. Rev? Yes. The stuff that's showing up in your life is a result of the way you think and the way you feel and the words you speak and the actions you take and the reactions that you don't even know are coming. So you trying to tell me when I went off on that lady in the parking lot, that was my fault and not hers? Yes, Rev. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. So you trying to tell me when the doctor said I was gaining weight and I started calling him all kind of names in my mind, that was because of me? Yeah, Rev, that was because of you. You are always your own experience. Y'all feel better? Good. Y'all got stuff too. Although I didn't really directly out loud talk about nobody in the parking lot. So we want to be able to separate the fact from the fiction. A good journalist tries to avoid subjectively interpreting the stories they write about. Let me say that again. A good journalist tries to avoid subjectively, somebody say subjectively. When I say subjective, I mean you already feel some kind of way about it, even if you don't overtly, objectively say this is how you feel about it, right? So most people enter experiences with some sort of subjective impression about what it is they're experiencing. And most people bypass what they're demonstrating in order to make themselves feel good or better about what's showing up that's not working. Are you with me? You sure? All right, let's keep rocking. So a good journalist tries to avoid subjectively interpreting the stories so that they can report on the facts. So what I want you to be able to do is just report on the facts and separate the facts from the fiction. Why? Because all of us tell ourselves stories. All of us have these made up versions about what is and isn't happening in my life, and those made up versions have nothing to do with the reality. We all tell ourselves stories. And so what I want you to be able to do is separate your fact from your story. One of my very first life coaches, name was Vincent. And it seemed like every day to me, but it wasn't every day. See, every day is a part of my story. But regularly, and it might not even been that regularly, but regularly, if not every day, Vincent would somehow manage to track me down at recess. And once Vincent tracked me down at recess, Vincent would always, somebody say always, Vincent would always begin roughing me up. You are my first life coaches. Now, the story I was telling myself, somebody say his story. The story I was telling myself is that I've seen Vincent and his brothers get busy, if you know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean? I've seen Vincent and his brothers get busy. And so the story I kept telling myself is if Vincent and I go at this thing, I've seen Vincent and his brothers get busy, and now not am I going to have to deal with Vincent every day, I'm going to have to deal with Vincent and his brothers every day, and I've seen them get busy. And so on this beautiful, brisk autumn morning, as Vincent is sitting on my back, hitting me and punching me and doing all manner of stuff to me, Vincent asked me one of the most liberating questions I had ever been asked up to that point in my life. Vincent took a time out and paused from pummeling me to ask little old me, do you know why I do this to you? And as courageously and sheepishly as I could, I said, no, why? And Vincent said, because you let me. Reverend Rod, I had a moment of clarity. The clouds opened up. Hark, the herald angels sang. I swear I must have saw the Lord on a cloud, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. He was doing this to me because I let him? You mean the only reason you're doing this is because I let you? If I didn't let you, you wouldn't do this to me? I must have said, let me reclaim my thuggish attitude and let's get after it. So I pushed Vincent off of me And I stood up and I swung back and I missed. And he walked away. You mean to tell me I've been telling myself this story about what will happen if I fight for myself? I've been telling myself this story about what will happen if I stand up for myself. I've been telling myself this falsehood justifying getting my can kicked for no reason at all, just because I wouldn't stand up for myself. Vincent, y'all, and I didn't even have to pay him to be my life coach, but I love that man to this day because one of the things that he taught me is that you gotta be willing to fight and stand up for yourself. And so, what stories are you telling yourself? What fiction have you created around the experiences that you're having that give you the ability to justify keeping stuff in your life that is not working? What stories do you keep repeating over and over and over and over again, even though the people you call don't want to hear that story no more, and you don't even really want to tell it no more, but you feel like you got to go tell it on the mountain? We have to learn how to separate the fact from the fiction. Because if the stories are not empowering you, if they're not giving you the ability to manifest the good desires of your heart, then it's time to stop telling that fiction. Are you with me? Last but not least, as we make a commitment, say commitment, to reviewing 2019. Don't run away from the year so quickly that you miss the opportunity to pull out and call out the lessons and the blessings that existed for you in that year. A lot of good happened for you in 2019. What did you do to cause it? It didn't happen by mistake. All causation is mental. What was your mindset to help you attract that new contract? What affirmations were you using to help you align yourself with the good desires of your heart? What mistakes or interactions or exchanges were disempowering for you? Learn from those things and use them to catapult you to success in 2020. Also, you just got to be willing to separate the fact from the fiction. How many of you know you have some false stories? Don't hold your hand up. It's all good. I know me and Vincent ain't the only one. So be willing to challenge those fictitious narratives. Be willing to call a thing so that you can use the power that's already working in you and stop using it to keep a false story going. Are you with me? Last but not least, I want to challenge you to make a commitment to your desired outcome. See, it's called a resolution because I'm resolved to manifest it. Watch this. No matter what. See, if after 6 weeks and it didn't happen fast enough, after 7 affirmations and it didn't shift quickly enough, if after 2 classes you still haven't been able to change them, if you're done before you even really get started, it's not a resolution. See, if you are resolved to a thing, you don't stop until that thing is solved. If you are resolved to success, you don't stop until you are successful. If you are resolved to health, you don't stop until your body is healthy. If you are resolved to prosperity, you don't stop until everything you want is showing up in your life, world, and affairs. If you are resolved to being rich, then you don't settle for being broke. If you are resolved to being happy, then the people who don't share happiness with you, or who you can't pull happiness from, or who you can't share happiness with, then you got some decisions to make. If you are resolved, now everybody's not resolved. Everybody's not resolved. See, a resolution is not for everybody. Because some people are gonna quit when the going gets tough. Some people are gonna stop after you tell them no 2 or 3 times. Some people are gonna fold up their tent if it doesn't happen. I went to church for 4 weeks. Yeah, but did you apply anything you heard? I took the class. Yeah, but did you read the book? I went to prayer day. Yeah, but did you work with the prayer that they gave you? See, being resolved means it's not over until you win. Being resolved means you recognize that you are more than a conqueror. Being resolved means that you intend to manifest the good desires of your heart no matter what. And so what you need is a no matter what attitude. I don't care what's showing up, I'm resolved to experience my good. I don't care what I'm experiencing right now, I'm resolved to experience my breakthrough. I don't care what you say, I'm resolved to go in my goodness. It's not for the faint of heart. Might not be easy, but it is simple. The question is, will you make the commitment to pay the daily toll to cross the bridge so that when you look up at the end of 2020, someone says to you, I remember how you were in 2019. But they can't find you at the end of 2020 because you are resolved and committed to manifesting your good. Your doctor looks at your whatever they look at, and they can't find what was supposed to be showing up because you've been resolved to doing your spiritual work. The bank calls and they ask you if you need a loan. And you like, no, business has been so good, I can use what I have. I've been resolved to work it because we know, as my mother and teacher and our minister taught us, it works if you work it. But ladies and gentlemen, you have to be resolved. You have to be committed. You have to be dedicated. You have to be persistent. You have to be consistent to working it. Because if you do, it's got to show forth. God bless you.